the session number 4 of lesson number 4, materials, metals and non-metals. In previous sessions, we have seen various chemical reactions also and some of the physical properties of metals and non-metals. The chemical properties of metals and non-metals also we have seen, such as reaction with oxygen of metals and non-metals. And today we are going to see the next part of this lesson, that is reaction with water. How metal and non-metal react with the water, that we are going to see. Okay, now let me start the reaction with water. We are on the page number 48. Let us see how metals and non-metals react with water. For that purpose, we are going to take one of the most famous metal named as sodium. Sodium metal is very reactive. It reacts vigorously with oxygen and water. A lot of heat is generated in the reaction. It is therefore stored in kerosene. I think this information is new for you. We have heard many names of metals and non-metals, but here I would like to discuss with you some metals have their special characteristics. One of the example now we are going to discuss, that is the sodium metal. Actually, the sodium metal is very reactive. It reacts vigorously with the water and oxygen. Sodium reacts vigorously with the water and oxygen. A lot of heat is generated in the reaction. When sodium metal comes into contact with the air, such as mostly instead of air, I would like to use the word oxygen. When sodium metal comes into contact with the oxygen and water, it reacts vigorously. Okay, and when it reacts vigorously, it produces the heat. It produces lot of heat. So we can say here the generation of the lot of heat is actually not suitable for the sodium metal, so it is kept in the kerosene. One question also we can prepare here, that is why sodium metal is stored in kerosene. I'll give scientific reason. Sodium metal is kept in kerosene. So you can give the answer, which is they have given in this yellow color box on your screen. Okay, these types of the question you can frame. Activity number 4.5, to understand exactly how the sodium reacts with the water. Okay, so let me see. You can see the figure 4.5, which shows the reaction of sodium with the water. This activity actually it should be performed, demonstrated by the teacher. No students should take their own lead to perform this activity. The teacher guidance must require, only demonstration by the teacher. Okay, when the school will start, at that time we will see this reaction. But now we are going to discuss whatever activities, whatever the practicals are given here, we are going to perform it. But when the school will start, at that time. Okay, to be demonstrated by the teacher. During the demonstration, special care should be taken that the size of the sodium metal piece is roughly the size of wheat grain. It should be held with a pair of tongues. See here, we are going to conduct one activity related with the sodium metal, but they have told that it should be performed very carefully. And the sodium metal we are going to take, it should be roughly the size of any wheat grain. Means very little quantity of the sodium metal we have to take. Okay, take a 250 ml of beaker, a glass tumbler, fill half of it with the water. Now carefully cut a small piece of sodium metal, dry it using a filter paper and wrap it in a small piece of cotton. Put the sodium piece wrapped in the cotton into the beaker. Observe carefully. During observation, keep away from the beaker. When reaction stops, touch the beaker. What do you feel? As the beaker becomes hot, test the solution with the red and blue litmus paper. Is the solution acidic or basic? Reaction of sodium with water. Figure 4.5 can give you idea what happened after the reaction of sodium with the water. Okay, see, I will explain this activity. For this purpose, we will require the beaker filled with the water, half filled with water, and little quantity of the sodium we have to drop into the half filled glass of water. When we drop it at that time, as we know that the sodium is the metal that react vigorously with the water. When it react vigorously, and a lot of heat is generated. Due to that, it can catch the fire also. Means it's a pure exothermic reaction which give off the heat during the reactive process. Okay, so sodium metal react with the water very vigorously. It doesn't mean that all the metals react with the water vigorously. We are going to talk about one example. Now we are on the page number 49. You observe that the sodium reacts vigorously with water. Some other metals do not do so. Even if the sodium reacts vigorously with water, other metals, they do not react vigorously with water. Okay, for example, they have given iron reacts with water slowly. We can see the rusting of the iron, but it is a very slow process. So iron react with the water, but it's very slowly. Compared to the sodium, iron reacts with the water very slowly, and compared to the iron, sodium reacts with the water vigorously. Okay, so just think about these sentences. So this was about the metals. Now what about non-metals? Generally non-metals do not react with the water, though they may be very reactive in air. Sometimes non-metals, they do not react with the water, but they reactive with the air. They are very reactive with the air. Okay, such non-metals are stored in water. See, as the non-metals, they do not react with the water and they are very reactive in air. Therefore, such non-metals are stored in water. For example, which non-metals are stored in water? For example, phosphorus is a very reactive non-metal. It catches fire if exposed to air. Phosphorus is stored in water. If it comes in the contact with the air, it can catch the fire. And to prevent the contact of phosphorus with the atmospheric oxygen, it is stored in water. See, here also you can frame one question. I will not repeat the question. I will not give an hint also. You should think. Okay, I will tell the answer. You frame the question. Okay, and write it in your notebook. Phosphorus is very reactive non-metal. It catches the fire if exposed to air. To prevent the contact of phosphorus with the atmospheric oxygen, it is stored in water. Phosphorus kept in water to avoid the contact with the atmospheric oxygen. So you can preserve it. Okay, you can keep the phosphorus as it is in condition. Here you can frame the question. Okay, we are going to conduct the next activity to understand reactions of metals and non-metals with the acid. Reaction of metals and non-metals with the acid. Let us see how metals and non-metals behave with the acid. To understand it, we are going to conduct one activity. Here, this activity will help us to understand how the metals and non-metals react with the acids. Okay. Warning. Keep the mouth of test tube away from your face. Use the test tube holder to hold the test tube. See, it's very important to take care whenever we go in the laboratory, whenever any test we conduct which may be harmful. For that purpose, we must understand which reactions are exothermic, which reactions are endothermic, or which reactions are harmful and which reactions are not harmful. So we have to take care, we have to keep the test tube away from our face. Okay, and we have to use the test tube holder to hold the test tube. Okay, let me understand now. Let me try to understand the activity 4.6. Take samples of metals and non-metals listed in table 4.5 in separate test tubes and label them A, B, C, D, E and F. With the help of dropper, add 5 ml of dilute hydrochloric acid to each test tube one by one. Observe the reactions carefully. If no reactions occur in the cold solution, warm the test tube gently. Bring a burning matchstick near the mouth of each test tube. Okay. See, we have to take the different total 6 test tubes we require. these 6 test tubes, we have to label them A, B, C, D, E and F. In test tube A, we have to take magnesium ribbon. In test tube B, we have to take aluminium foil. In test tube C, we have to take iron fillings. In test tube D, we have to take copper in the form of peeled flexible wire. In test tube E, we have to take the charcoal in the form of powder. In test tube F, we have to take sulfur in form of powder. So here we are going to conduct the test. For that purpose, we require the dilute hydrochloric acid. Okay, and this dilute hydrochloric acid, we have to take approx 55 ml of dilute hydrochloric acid. We have to add to the each of the test tube labeled as A, B, C, D, E and F, and we have to observe what happened. If no reaction takes place in such a condition, we have to warm the test tube. Okay, dilute hydrochloric acid we have to add in this 6 labeled test tubes, start from A, B, C, D, E and F, and we have to observe. If the reaction do not takes place, we have to warm it. We have to warm the test tube, and again we have to observe, and we have to record our observations in table 4.5. One more thing we have to do here, we have to conduct this all test again with the sulfuric acid. Means in place of hydrochloric acid, we have to use the sulfuric acid. If the reaction do not take place, at that time we have to warm the test tube. Okay, this also care we have to take. We must observe. The observation is most important in any chemical reaction. Okay, now what will happen? Let me see on page number 50. Okay, the result of the reactivity. If you see carefully, the first 4 are the metals and last 2 are the non-metals. So what happened? Is there a difference in the way metals and non-metals react with acids? What could the pop sound in some cases be due to the when a burning mastic is brought near the mouth of the test tube? You must have found that non-metals generally do not react with acids, but metals react with the acids and produce hydrogen gas that burns with a pop sound. You must have noticed that copper does not react with the dilute hydrochloric acid and even on heating, but it reacts with the sulfuric acid. See, total 6 metals and non-metals they have given in the activity number 4.6 in table 4.5. Magnesium, aluminum, iron and copper, they are the metals. When they will react with the hydrochloric acid, at that time they will produce the hydrogen gas, and if we take the burning mastic near the mouth of the test tube, at that time the pop sound get produced in the case of only metals. And in the case of non-metals, the pop sound do not produce. Means actually non-metals they do not react. Normally non-metal do not react with the what we have taken. Normally non-metals do not react with acids. Okay, so when metals react with the acid, they produce the hydrogen gas, and if we bring the burning mastic near the mouth, they produce the pop sound. And with the non-metals, the mostly the acids they do not react. Now see here, one more thing. Actually, one example of the metal such as copper does not react with the dilute hydrochloric acid. Copper does not react with the dilute hydrochloric acid, but it reacts with the sulfuric acid. If we add the dilute hydrochloric acid with the copper, it do not react. If we heat it, then also it do not react. But when we add it with the sulfuric acid, it react. Means some metals can react with the hydrochloric acid and some metals can react with the sulfuric acid. Okay, so here we have, I think, I hope you understood the whatever I taught, whatever the reactions. Now we are going to see the next reaction, that is the reactions with bases. To understand this reaction, we are going to conduct activity number 4.7. It should be demonstrated by the teacher. During the preparation of sodium hydroxide solution, care should be taken that pellets of sodium hydroxide are handled with a plastic spatula. See, this activity should be performed by the teacher, and whenever the solution of the sodium hydroxide will be prepared, at that time, whatever the sodium hydroxide pellets are available, that pellets we should not handle with the hand, we should handle it with the plastic spatula. Okay, prepare a fresh solution of sodium hydroxide in a test tube by dissolving 3 to 4 pellets of it in the 5 ml of water. Drop a piece of aluminum foil into it. Bring a burning matchstick near the mouth of the test tube. Observe carefully. See here, a very important thing. For conducting the activity, we will require the solution of sodium hydroxide, and we have to prepare the solution of this sodium hydroxide by adding the 3 to 4 pellets of sodium hydroxide in 5 ml of water, and we have to drop a piece of aluminum foil into it, and we have to bring the burning matchstick near the mouth of the test tube. Then what exactly happened? Here too the pop sound produced, means there is a production of hydrogen gas, means when sodium hydroxide reacts with the aluminum, then it produces the hydrogen gas, means sodium hydroxide is one of the base and aluminum is the metal, means when metal react with the bases, they produce the pop sound, they produce the hydrogen gas. Okay, what does the pop sound indicate? As before, the pop sound indicates the presence of hydrogen gas. Metal react with the sodium hydroxide to produce hydrogen gas is the conclusion of this activity. See, I'll repeat the conclusion of the activity. Metals react with the sodium hydroxide to produce hydrogen gas. And what about non-metals? Reaction of non-metals with the bases are complex. Means reaction of non-metals with the bases are complex, means we can't give the exact idea what will produce or how the various non-metals they will react with the bases. Okay, so it's a complex one. So today we have seen some of the chemical reactions such as reactions of metals and non-metals with the water. We have also seen reactions of metals and non-metals with the acid. We have seen the reactions of metals and non-metals with the bases. Okay, try to frame the questions, try to complete the table if it is possible for you. We are going to conduct the activities and experiments in the school when the school will start. But for that much time, complete the homework that as it possible, try to frame the questions. Okay, is it clear? We will see the remaining part of the lesson in the next session. Thank you.